So the problem is to find all solutions of this equation here, cosh z equals 1/2. Now it helps if we know that if x is real, the graph of cosh x looks like this and has a minimum value of 1. So that means that it's impossible that z is real. Z must be a complex number. So we write z as x plus iy as usual, and then look at our formula sheet, and I'm going to write ch to abbreviate cosh to save writing. Cosh z is equal to cosh x cos y plus I sine x sine y. Now this all has to equal 1/2, and then we take real and imaginary parts. I'm going to take imaginary parts first, just because the imaginary part of this is obviously 0, and normally the 0 bit is easier. It gives us, well, it's easier to start with a 0 thing. Okay, so we have various possibilities. If sine y is 0, what does that mean? So if, I mean, it's unlikely that sine y is going to be 0, because we've just said that y can't be 0. But let's just see what happens if we put sine y equals 0. So if sine y equals 0, then, so I mean, basically this implies that either sine x is 0 or sine y is 0. Let's look at sine y equals 0 and just rule this out. So if that implies that, well, when is sine y 0? Basically when y is equal to n pi, where n is an integer. So if y equals n pi, what does that imply? Well, that implies that cos y is y equals n pi, then cos y is cos n pi, and cos n pi is equal to minus 1 to the n. Useful formula to know if you don't already know it. So what does that mean? Well, when we take the real part, that means that cosh x times minus to the n is equal to 1/2. And we know that's impossible. Okay, so this goes nowhere. Just to write that would imply that cosh x times minus to the n is equal to 1/2. Now remember, x and y are both real numbers. So just for the same reason as we know that z can't possibly be real, here this has no solutions when x is real. This is saying we want to find x such that we get cosh x equals either 1/2 or minus 1/2. That's not going to happen. So this is a dead end. So I'm going to, you wouldn't normally rub this out if you're doing it, but I'm running out of space. So I'm going to rub this out now and say, well, that means that sine y is not 0. Or at least it could, well, okay. Yes, okay, sine y is definitely not 0, which implies that if this is going to be 0, that means sine x must be 0. X is real. So just to remind you, sine of x looks something like this. Only has one solution when x is 0, which implies x equals 0. So we know now that x is equal to 0. We can go back and look at the real part of this equation and say, okay, that means with x equals 0, we've got cosh x equals 1. So we just have cos y is equal to 1/2. And hopefully you know that what that implies. That implies that y, just to remind you what cos looks like. Cos looks like this. So this is 2 pi. So there are, so when if you draw the line 1/2 here. So when is cos, what value of y do you need to get 1/2? Well, it's basically pi by 3 plus or minus pi by 3 plus, and then any multiple of 2 pi. So we end up with y is equal to plus or minus pi by 3 plus 2 pi, and then n is any integer. So our final answer is to this question is that z, I'll get rid of some of this stuff, x we've shown is 0, so z is equal to iy, which is plus or minus pi by 3 plus 2 pi n. Remember, this is all times I. That's our final answer. You might want to take the pi outside to simplify it slightly, up to you.